What's up, addicts? Today we are talking CMC, Christian McCaffrey, running back for the Carolina Panthers. So last year, Christian McCaffrey's rookie year came onto the scene a little bit slow, but overall had a pretty productive season in terms of fantasy points in a PPR league. But if you look at his stats, it's pretty evident that he was definitely more of a receiver than a running back. So looking last year, he had 117 attempts for 435 yards, which isn't very much, and he also only averaged 3.7 a carry and 2 touchdowns on the ground. But he had 80 receptions and 651 yards through the air and 5 touchdowns. So that is definitely very high for a running back, and most of his value came through the air. Now, going into free agency, into the draft, the Panthers didn't really do much to address the running back situation, so it was really looking like Christian McCaffrey was going to get a big boost with Jonathan Stewart moving on, going on to the Giants. And then we had a major buzzkill when the Panthers went out and selected CJ Anderson. So it could be argued that his game-by-game statistics are probably going to be pretty similar as they were the previous year, because Jonathan Stewart, CJ Anderson are most likely going to have a similar role. But anyway, looking at last year, game-by-game, we can see that Christian McCaffrey kind of started the year off a little bit slow. He didn't have a touchdown until week 5, but he definitely was getting a lot of receiving work even from the very beginning. The third game of the year, he already had a 9 reception game, which is absolutely incredible. Had quite a few games where he was scoring at about around 10, 15 points. He breached 20 a few times, pretty much like every 4 weeks it looked like he hit 20. And then he had a few down games where he didn't even hit 10. But overall, as a running back too, which was about where he was being drafted last year, he performed. And that was what you wanted from a running back too. Someone that can typically get you about 10, occasionally will blow up and get you 20 and help you out. So we have to consider the changes to the offense and see if we agree that Christian McCaffrey should continue to progress, if last year was more of an anomaly. In my view, we have to look at this in many different spheres. So we have to really consider everything that's changing around him. So first of all, they have a different offensive coordinator. They have Norv Turner over there now, who in the past has been known for really relying on one running back. But this kind of offensive scheme, it doesn't really make sense. So I'm not sure that argument is going to hold much weight. My biggest concern right now is the offensive line. So the Panthers let Andrew Norwell, their left guard, go. And they did not really address this. They didn't address the offensive line in the draft. And in training camp, they've already lost 2 of their offensive linemen, not for the year, but one of them is going on IR and the other one is going to need surgery. So it's looking very bad for the offensive line right now. So if Christian McCaffrey was only able to average 3.7 yards a carry last year, a lot of that had to do with the fact that he was getting hit pretty quickly after touching the ball. It's not going to be any better this year. If anything, it's going to be significantly worse. So you might argue, okay, well, that means he's going to continue to get receptions. Well, we also have to consider last year that Greg Olsen missed a good part of the season, and historically, Greg Olsen has been Cam Newton's favorite target on the field. So assuming Greg Olsen is healthy this year, it's likely that some of those receptions that Christian McCaffrey had last year, Greg Olsen is going to get this year. They also drafted DJ Moore with their first overall pick. So there's more assistance in the receiving core this year than there was last year. Last year they had Kelvin Benjamin, who's not very good, traded him away halfway through the year. So they actually have a decent receiver now. Greg Olsen is back, and their offensive line is terrible. And I would argue that CJ Anderson is going to be more productive than Jonathan Stewart. All of that together makes me believe that Christian McCaffrey is going to, at best, do exactly what he did last year, but more likely than not actually do a little bit worse. So a lot of people are projecting him higher than last year. I'm actually projecting him a little bit lower. And I'm just reading the tea leaves here. It just doesn't seem like, with everything that's going on in their offense, the only way that he's actually going to outperform where he's being drafted right now is if a lot of players around him go down, and he's the only game in town again like he was last year. But with that offensive line, I don't see him getting a lot done on the ground. And with Greg Olsen back, I don't see him getting 80 receptions again. So most likely he's not going to end up on my team for that reason. But it doesn't mean that I think he's a bad player. I just think that this year, everything is just kind of going against him, and overall I think he's being a bit overvalued. But if you guys are curious where I rank Christian McCaffrey and every other player that's worth drafting, feel free to click the link in the description box below. You can sign up and get my PPR tiers for free. I will be sending updates out all August and September there, and you guys will be ready to kick butt in all your drafts as long as you take that sheet with you. Anyway, hope you guys have a good one. Peace.